Look at the word, abracadabra. You've heard it your whole life. Magicians say it, kids say it, you probably think it's a joke, except it's not. In Aramaic, it literally translates to, I create as I speak, not I hope, not I wish. I create as I speak. That's not a magic trick, that's the actual operating system of reality that they've turned into a punchline so you'd never take it seriously. And here's what nobody's telling you. Grammar being grimoire, spelling being spellcasting, that's just showing you the mechanism, and that language can control reality. But what I'm about to show you is what they built with that mechanism. The actual systems, the institutions, the linguistic prisons you're trapped in right now without even knowing the bars exist. Because they didn't just discover that words are spells and leave it at that. They used that knowledge to build everything. Your financial system, your employment structure, your legal framework, your government, your religion. And every single one of those systems is built on corrupted language patterns that program you into accepting slavery and calling it freedom. Let me prove it to you right now. Why is money called currency? Think about it. Not wealth, not value, not resources, currency. Because it comes from the same root as current, like electrical current, water current. Currency means flow. Money is designed to flow. It flows through you like electricity through a wire, like water through a pipe. You're not meant to hold it. You're not meant to accumulate it. You're meant to let it flow through you, from them, through you, back to them. That's why the rich say, let money flow, and broke people say, hold on to your money. The word itself tells you what it's designed to do. Currency, current, flow. You're the wire, not the power source. You're the pipe, not the water source. You're the channel through which their wealth flows. Now think about your job, your occupation. Sounds innocent, right? But what does occupy actually mean? When a military force occupies a territory, what are they doing? They're seizing it. They're taking control. They're holding it by force. Your occupation isn't just your job. Your time is being occupied. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Your life is under occupation. You're occupied territory. And you call it employment like it's a gift. Speaking of employment, employee, you think that means person who works? It doesn't. The root is ploy, from pliquer, meaning to fold, to weave, like ply in plywood. Employee means you're folded into their system, woven into their machine like thread in fabric. You're not working for them. You're woven into them. That's why it's so hard to leave. You're literally enmeshed. They didn't employ you. They employed you. See the pattern? Currency flows through you to them. Your occupation occupies your time. Employee folds you into their machine. Every word that describes your relationship to the system inverts freedom into control, makes slavery sound like opportunity, makes imprisonment sound like participation. And here's the thing they really don't want you knowing. In 1946, they removed etymology from every school in America. Before that year, every single kid learned to break down words, to see the roots, to decode language, standard curriculum. Then it stopped globally, simultaneously, right after World War II. Right after they saw what propaganda could do. They made sure your generation would never learn to decode their system. But elite schools, Eton, Exeter, Andover, they still teach Latin and Greek and etymology to 8-year-olds. Because they need their kids to know how to maintain the linguistic prison that keeps your kids trapped. Now let me show you the pattern of reversal. This is ancient knowledge. In mystery schools, to understand the true nature of something, you reverse it. You look at it backward. Because the opposite reveals the hidden truth. Take the word live. Reverse it. Evil. You think that's coincidence? Life and death. Creation and destruction. Light and shadow. They're encoded as reversals because they're complementary forces. You can't have one without the other. But modern society tells you to only acknowledge one side, to only speak about the positive. That's how they keep you weak. Because when you deny half of reality, you lose access to its power. Now let me show you the pattern of containment. Words that contain other words carry layered programming. This is going to disturb you. Look at believe, believe. To believe is to live a lie, not always negative, but the pattern warns you. Belief without examination is living inside someone else's story. The elite know this. That's why they control belief systems. They control the lies you agree to live inside, or listen. Rearrange those letters. Silent. To truly listen, you must be silent. The pattern teaches you the practice. But modern culture trains you to constantly respond, react, interrupt. Because silent listeners are dangerous. They hear what's not being said. Now, let's go deeper into the money prison, because they've built an entire linguistic cage around your wallet, and you've been living in it without knowing the bars exist. We talked about currency flowing, but let's decode more. Bank. Why do we call them banks? Think about it. Because of the riverbank, the bench along the river. Money flows like a river. Liquid assets, cash flow, currency. The bank is where the flow is controlled, where the river is channeled. You make deposits, like sediment deposits in a river. They create liquidity, they keep it flowing. When a bank fails, bankrupt, broken bench. Can't hold the flow anymore. You're not the owner of the river. You're just making deposits into their riverbank. And whenever they want, they can flood you out or drought you dry. Now think about the money you make, your salary. Roman soldiers were paid in salt, salarium. That's where we get salary. And why salt? Because salt preserves meat. Your salary isn't designed to make you rich. It's designed to preserve you. Just enough to keep you maintained, kept, ready to work tomorrow. You're worth your salt, worth preserving for their use. That's why most people's salary covers exactly their living expenses and nothing more. Preservation wages, not liberation money. They calculated it perfectly. Just enough to keep you alive, never enough to get free. And what do you do with that salary? You try to build capital, but what does capital mean? It comes from caput, which means head, like decapitate, removing the head. Capital punishment is head removal. So what is capitalism? It's the system built on heads. Your head, your mind, your thinking, your life, your labor. When you give your capital to the system, you're giving your head. That's why capitalists own your time. They literally own your thinking time, your mental space, your head. Capital is heads. In capitalism, they collect heads, your skull, your brain, your consciousness. That's the capital. Think about your house. You probably have a mortgage. You know by now that mortgage means death pledge, mort, death, plus gage, pledge. But let's go deeper. You're not just pledging until death. The house is the gauge, but your life is what's mortgaged. The bank calculated it perfectly. 30 years, from 35 to 65, your productive lifespan, your prime years. You pledge your head, your capital, your life to the death pledge, and they call it home ownership. It's a death pledge disguised as the American dream. When you can't afford something, you use credit. Credit comes from credere, to believe, to trust. Your credit score isn't measuring your money, it's measuring their belief in you. How much they trust you, how credible you are. Good credit doesn't mean you're wealthy. It means they believe you're a good slave, that you'll pay them back, that you'll service the debt. You're not building wealth, you're building their confidence that you'll serve the system. That's why they call you credit-worthy. Worthy of their belief, worthy of being in debt to them. And on all that credit, all those loans, all those mortgages, you pay interest. Interest comes from interes, inter meaning between, esse meaning to be. Interest is what exists between you and freedom. It's the gap, the space that keeps growing. You pay and pay and pay, but the interest keeps you in the gap. You're always chasing, never catching, always between where you are and where you want to be. That's not an accident. That's the design. Interest is the trap that keeps you running on the wheel forever. Now let me show you the pattern of phonetic deception. Words that sound the same carry hidden connections that program your subconscious. Sun and sun. Think about that. The sun gives light, life, warmth. In Christianity, the sun is the light of the world, the savior. But go back further. Most ancient religions were sun worship. The sun was literally God. The pattern preserved in language, sun equals sun, is telling you that sun worship never went away. It just changed names. Or sea and sea. Vision and ocean. The ancient Greeks believed the eye emitted light rays that touched objects. Your vision was literally reaching out. And the sea, water, was the primordial consciousness from which all life emerged. To see is to navigate the sea of consciousness. The homophone isn't accidental. Peace and peace. You ever notice how peace is always in pieces? How the moment you think you've found peace, it fragments. The sound pattern is showing you that peace isn't a permanent state. It's assembled from pieces of present moment awareness. But society sells you permanent peace, keeping you forever dissatisfied with the pieces you actually have. Now let's talk about where you spend most of your waking life. Your job, your career. And just like with money, they've built a linguistic cage around work. What do they call it when you're working? You're in business. Say it slowly. Busyness. The state of being busy. Not commerce, not enterprise, busyness. Because a busy mind is a controlled mind. If you're busy, you're not questioning. You're not thinking deeply. You're not noticing what's happening. You're not organizing. You're not resisting. You're just busy. That's why corporate culture celebrates hustle and grind. Why they glorify being busy. Why they make you feel guilty for having free time. Because busyness is the goal. An occupied mind doesn't rebel. A busy person doesn't have time to see the cage. The work itself almost doesn't matter. What matters is that you're busy. And it's not just a job, it's your career. Career comes from Latin carus, a wheeled cart or chariot. In French, carrière means racecourse. Your career is a race on a predetermined track. You're the horse pulling the cart, running on their track. That's why they call it a career path. The path already exists. You didn't choose it, you didn't build it. You're just running on the track they built. Entry level, to middle management, to senior role, to retirement. The same circle every generation runs. And retirement? That's when they take you off the track. Not because you're free, because you're used up. Now here's something that's going to blow your mind. The place you work for, the corporation. Corporate comes from corpus, which means body, like corpse, like corporal. Corporation literally means the act of creating a body. But not a living body, a dead body with legal life given to it by the state. Corporations are called persons under the law. They have rights, often more rights than you. But they're not alive. They're dead bodies given artificial life through legal documents. And what do dead bodies need? Life force, energy, blood. Where do they get it? From you. From your labor, from your time, from your life. You're literally feeding your life force to a corpse 8 hours a day. The corporation, the dead body, drinks your energy, your vitality, your years. And at the end of 30 or 40 years, they give you a retirement party and a pension, if you're lucky. You gave it your life. It gave you just enough to survive. And the whole time, you called it a career. Now let me show you the pattern of prefixes and suffixes that control meaning. This is how they program limitations into everyday language. The prefix im or in means not, impossible, invisible, incomplete, innocent. Each word is defining something by what it's not, rather than what it is. This trains your mind to think in terms of absence rather than presence. Lack rather than abundance. But here's the trick. Remove the prefix and you find the positive root. Possible, visible, complete, nascent, harmful. The language is showing you that the negative is just the positive with a barrier placed in front. Remove the barrier, remove the IM, and the potential was always there. The suffix meant, government, treatment, statement, agreement. What does ment mean? It comes from Latin mentis, mind. Every word ending in ment is about mental state or mental control. Government, controlling minds. Treatment, changing mental physical state. Statement, declaring mental position. Agreement, aligning minds. Entertainment, entering your mind. Judgment, someone else determining your mental worth. Moment, the smallest unit of mental awareness. Once you see this pattern, you notice it everywhere. Now let's talk about the biggest lie they ever told you. That you're free, that you have rights, that you're a citizen in a democracy. Let me decode what those words actually mean. Citizen. You're not a free person. Citizen comes from Latin civitas, the city, but the komai-zen part connects to seated, like Japanese zazen, sitting meditation. Citizen literally means one who sits in the city. You're not free to roam. You're seated, domesticated, contained within the city limits. When you're a citizen, you're part of society. Sounds nice, right? Wrong. Society comes from Latin socius, bound companion, ally, but specifically one bound by treaty or oath. Society isn't just a group of people. It's people bound by invisible oath to each other and to the system. You didn't sign the oath. You don't remember taking it, but by being in society, you're bound. That's why antisocial is bad. You're rejecting the binding. And they can't allow that. You're told you live in a democracy, ruled by the people, right? No. Democracy comes from Greek demos, meaning common people, but also meaning mob, and kratos, meaning power. Democracy isn't ruled by the people, it's ruled by mob. Mob rule. Why do you think the Founding Fathers hated democracy? Why they specifically gave you a republic, not a democracy? Because mob rule is controllable. Mobs are emotional, easily manipulated. Mobs can be turned against themselves. That's why they give you democracy and call it freedom. Mobs screaming emotionally about whatever the media told them to care about this week. Perfect. Easy to steer. And speaking of voting, elections. Election comes from e, meaning out of, and lection, meaning selection. Election means choosing from a pre-selected group. They select who you can elect. You think you're choosing your leaders? No. They select 2 or 3 people who all serve the same system, and you pick which face you prefer. The system stays the same, the policies stay the same, the wars stay the same, the money flows the same direction. That's why the same families keep winning. Election isn't selection, it's selection from their pre-approved list. You're choosing between Coke and Pepsi, and they own both companies. Now, let me show you the pattern of corporate spellcasting. Companies don't just pick names randomly. They use ancient linguistic patterns to program your subconscious. Look at Amazon. In Greek mythology, Amazons were fierce warrior women. The company named itself after warriors, conquerors, and then put a smile arrow pointing from A to Z in their logo. They're telling you, we're warriors conquering everything from A to Z, and you'll smile while we do it. That's not branding. That's declaration of intent using mythological pattern. Or apple, the forbidden fruit, knowledge, temptation. Steve Jobs didn't pick that name accidentally. He was offering forbidden knowledge, technology the establishment said would never work. The bitten apple is literally the symbol of eating from the tree of knowledge, and you pay premium prices to hold that symbol. Oracle, tech company. But Oracle was the priestess at Delphi who channeled divine prophecy. The company that helps you query databases named itself after someone who queries the divine database. They're encoding their function using ancient pattern. Tesla. Nikola Tesla discovered free energy, wireless transmission, technologies that threatened the power structure. They destroyed him. Now there's an electric car company with his name, controlled by the richest man in the world. They took the name of the rebel and made it the brand of the elite. That's linguistic conquest. Now let's talk about what you do when you get home. You relax, right? You turn on the TV. Let me show you what those words actually mean. Because your free time is the most controlled time of all. Television. Tele means far, like telephone. Vision means sight. Television means far sight. But say it differently. Tell, a vision. They're telling you a vision from far away. Programming your vision remotely. That's why shows are called programs. That's why news comes in channels. You're not watching. You're being programmed through channels. Think about that word, channel. A channel is a pathway for water or energy. When you watch TV, you're choosing which channel to open. Like channeling spirits, a medium opens a channel, and something flows through into them. That's what you're doing. You're opening a channel, and their programming flows through into your mind. You're not the watcher, you're the receiver. And what are they filling you with? Information. Information. In means into. Formation means shaping, molding. Information isn't neutral facts. Information is being formed from within. When you consume information, you're being formed into a specific shape, their desired shape. But they don't call it programming, they call it entertainment. Entertainment. Enter means to go into. Tain means to hold, to contain, like retain, maintain, contain. Ment means mind. Entertainment literally means entering and holding your mind. While your mind is held, you're not free. While your mind is contained in their entertainment, you're not thinking your own thoughts. You're held in their container. That's why they make it addictive. That's why they celebrate binge watching. Because the longer they can hold your mind, the longer you're not questioning, not organizing, not thinking about what they're doing. Your mind is in their container. Now let me show you the pattern of sacred geometry in language. Ancient languages weren't just sounds. They were mathematical constructs designed to mirror universal laws. In Hebrew, every letter is a number. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2. This means every word has a numerical value. Words with the same value are considered connected by divine design. This is gematria. For example, in Hebrew, the word for love, ahava, and the word for one, echad, both equal 13. Love and oneness are mathematically linked. The language itself is teaching you that love is the recognition of unity. That's not philosophy. That's encoded mathematics. Or the word for life, chai, equals 18. That's why in Jewish tradition giving gifts in multiples of 18 is auspicious. You're literally giving life energy encoded in number form. The language is the technology. Sanskrit operates similarly. Each sound, each syllable is called a bija, or seed. These seed sounds create specific vibrational patterns that affect consciousness and matter. The mantra Om isn't just meditation sound. It's the primordial vibration from which all other sounds emerge. Ancient texts claim that if you could correctly pronounce the Om, you could alter physical reality. And modern physics is starting to agree. String theory suggests that at the quantum level, everything is vibration. Different frequencies create different particles. Sound creates form. The ancients knew this thousands of years ago and encoded it into their languages. That's why Sanskrit mantras are never translated for practice. Translation changes the vibration. You're not reciting words for meaning. You're generating specific frequency patterns. Latin works differently but equally powerful. Latin is a language of precision, of law, of binding contracts. There's a reason legal documents are filled with Latin phrases. Habeas corpus, pro bono. Quid pro quo. Latin creates binding reality through clarity. When you speak Latin, You're not suggesting, you're declaring. You're not requesting, you're commanding. That's why the Catholic Church kept the Bible in Latin for centuries. Because the masses couldn't read it, couldn't speak it, couldn't access the power encoded in precise declaration. And that's why elite children still learn Latin today. Not to read old texts, to train their minds in the pattern of authoritative speech. To learn how to command reality instead of asking permission from it. Now, let's go deeper into where they really get you. Your soul, your spirit, because they've built a linguistic prison around spirituality too. Religion. Re means again. Ligare means to bind, like ligament. Religion literally means to bind again. To bind you to what? To the system, to hierarchy, to human authority, to the institution, not to God, to the church's version of God. That's why Jesus fought against religious leaders. Because religion binds you. It binds you to their interpretation, their rules, their hierarchy. True spirituality sets you free. Religion binds you, and it says so right in the name. And where do you practice this binding religion? Church. Church comes from Greek kyriakon, or kirke, meaning circle. And think about what happens in church. You sit in circular pews. You follow circular liturgy. Same prayers, same songs, same ceremonies, week after week, year after year, going in circles. You enter church, sit for an hour, do the rituals, and leave exactly where you started, round and round. You're not moving upward toward enlightenment. You're moving in circles. That's why church buildings are often circular, domes, round windows, circular altars. You're in a cycle. Now let's talk about how you practice religion. Through worship. Worthship. You're shipping your worth to something outside yourself, giving your value away, exporting your power to an external authority. And here's the trick. Worship requires you to feel unworthy. Because if you knew your worth, if you understood your true value, you wouldn't ship it elsewhere. You'd keep it. You'd embody it. That's why religious systems emphasize unworthiness. You're a sinner. You're fallen. You're broken. You need salvation from outside yourself. Why? So you'll worship. So you'll ship your worth away from yourself to their system. But what did Jesus actually say? The kingdom of God is within you. Not in a building, not in a priest, not in a ritual. Within you. But religion flipped it. Made you look outside for what was inside all along. And at the end of every prayer, every ceremony, what do you say? Amen. You know what Amen means. It comes from Amen-Ra, the Egyptian sun god, the hidden god. Every Christian prayer, every Jewish prayer, every Muslim prayer, they all end with Amen. They're all ending their prayers invoking an Egyptian deity. Why? Because the Roman Catholic Church absorbed Egyptian mystery religion. They didn't destroy it, they rebranded it. Amen-Ra became Amen. Isis with baby Horus became Mary with baby Jesus. The Egyptian sun disk became the Christian halo. Same symbols, same gods, new names. And you're ending every prayer invoking the old Egyptian god, thinking you're Christian. Now let me show you the pattern of anagrams and hidden messages. Language organizing itself according to deeper patterns. Rearrange the letters of 11 plus 2 and you get 12 plus 1. Both equal 13. The anagram reveals equivalents hidden in plain sight. Or slot machines rearranges to cache lost in me. The letters are literally telling you what happens when you play. The Morse code becomes here come dots. It's describing itself through rearrangement. Desperation becomes a rope ends it. Dark, but the pattern shows you that extreme suffering sees death as resolution. Skeptics will say these are random coincidence. But is it? Or is language organizing itself according to deeper patterns we don't fully understand? Pattern recognition is how your brain works. If anagrams create meaning, your subconscious processes that meaning. Poets and mystics have always known that words want to rearrange. That language has a life of its own. The Kabbalists did this with Hebrew for thousands of years. They called it Temura, letter permutation, as mystical insight. Now let's go darker, the legal system. Because everything operates under a framework of law, and the law itself is a linguistic prison. License. Licentia means permission, freedom, but it implies the thing was forbidden first. A driver's license isn't giving you a new right. It's selling you back a natural right. They first forbid. Traveling freely is your natural right. They made it illegal. Then they sell you permission. Marriage license? Marriage was a natural human union. They made it illegal without permission. Now you buy a license from the state. They criminalize natural rights, then monetize the permission. That's the license system. And every license, every legal document requires certification. Certis means certain, fixed. But certify also connects to certifying death in legal systems. Your birth certificate doesn't certify you're alive. It certifies the creation of a legal person, a corporate fiction that exists in their system. The natural you exists outside their system. The legal person, the name in all caps on the certificate, exists inside their system. That's why all legal documents use your name in all capitals. That's not you. That's the legal fiction, the corporate person. And every time you sign that name, every time you use that identity, you're operating as the legal person, not as the natural living being. You're accepting jurisdiction. You're consenting to be governed. And when you participate in their system, what do you own? Property. Proprius means one's own, but proper also means correct, appropriate to the owner. You're not owning property, you're proper tied to it, appropriately tied, bound to it. And how do you know you don't really own it? Property tax. If you stop paying, they take your property back. That proves who really owns it. They do. You're just the occupant who maintains it and pays them rent, called tax. Elite families know this. That's why they use trusts, foundations, complex legal structures. They don't own anything in their personal names. Because ownership creates liability, creates taxation, creates jurisdiction. Now let me show you the pattern of numeral words and encoded mathematics. The word one contains on, activated, alive. One is not just a number. It's the state of being turned on, being active, being present. Two sounds like two and two, connection, movement toward excess. The number two is always about relationship, duality, connection to something else. Three contains tree, branching, growth, sacred structure. Three is the number of manifestation. Spirit, mind, body, past, present, future. The tree grows in 3 dimensions. 4. Sounds like 4, purpose, direction, goal. 4 is the number of structure. 4 directions, 4 elements, 4 seasons. 4 represents stability and foundation. 5 contains live rearranged. 5 is the number of life. 5 senses, 5 fingers, the pentagram. 5 is humanity. These aren't coincidences. The numbers and their sounds evolve together, encoding the meaning of each number into its name. Now let me show you the pattern of vowel sounds and consciousness states. In Sanskrit and Hebrew, vowels aren't just sounds, they're consciousness carriers. The vowel A, R, opens the throat, creates expansion, represents beginning. The vowel E, creates focus, represents clarity. The vowel I, represents self, individuality, vision. The vowel O, represents wholeness, completion. The vowel U, represents mystery, the unknown. This is why mantras use specific vowel patterns. Or moves through AUM. taking consciousness from expansion through mystery to completion. It's a journey encoded in sound. English has more vowel sounds than almost any language, somewhere between 12 and 20. Each vowel carries a different consciousness frequency. When you speak English fluently, you're constantly shifting between consciousness states without knowing it. That's both gift and curse. English gives you access to more states, more flexibility, but it also means you're less stable, less grounded. You're shape-shifting through consciousness with every word. And they don't teach you to control it. They teach you to let it control you. Now let me show you the pattern of curse words and linguistic taboo. Why are certain words forbidden? It's about power. Curse words are powerful sounds that trigger strong emotional reactions. That power is dangerous. So society labels them obscene, unacceptable. Not to protect the innocent, to control the power. You can say make love, but not fuck. You can say defecate, but not shit. The actions are the same, the meanings are the same, but one set of words is forbidden. Why? Because the forbidden words carry more energy. They're more visceral, more connected to body and emotion, more powerful. So they're restricted. You're punished for using them, conditioned to feel guilty. But reclaiming curse words is reclaiming power. That's why rebellious movements always include profanity. It's linguistic liberation. And this connects to ancient name magic. To curse someone was to speak words that harmed them. To bless someone was to speak words that helped them. Curse words preserve that power. They're words that carry harmful energy if spoken with intent. Now let me show you the pattern of linguistic relativity, how your language determines what you can think. There's a tribe in the Amazon, the Piraha, whose language has no words for specific numbers. No 1, 2, 3, just few and many. And studies show they literally can't perform exact counting tasks. Not because they're less intelligent, because their language doesn't provide the tool. Or the Hopi language, which has no words for past, present, or future. Time isn't linear in Hopi. It's cyclical and multidimensional. Hopi speakers think about time completely differently than English speakers, or the Gugu Yimithia language in Australia, which has no words for left, right, front, back. Everything is cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. And speakers of this language have perfect orientation at all times. They always know which way north is, because their language requires it. This proves that language isn't just describing reality, it's constructing it. The language you speak determines what you can perceive, what you can think, what you can imagine. And English is a colonizer language. It absorbed words from hundreds of languages. It's massive, flexible, adaptable. But it's also imprecise. Multiple words for the same thing, and one word for multiple things. The elite use this. They know that controlling vocabulary controls thought. That's why they constantly introduce new terms, new definitions, new meanings. They're reshaping your reality by reshaping your language. Now let me show you something that's going to connect everything you've learned. The pattern of medical and pharmaceutical control. Because they use language to make you sick and keep you sick. Start with the word patient. Sounds innocent, right? Someone receiving medical care. But patient comes from Latin pati, to suffer, to endure. The same root as passion, which originally meant suffering, not love. When you become a patient, you're literally identifying as one who suffers. Think about what happens when you go to the doctor. They don't call you a person. They don't call you by your name. You're the patient. You're the one who suffers. You're the one who endures. And your subconscious hears that. Your body hears that. You're being programmed to accept suffering as your identity. And what does the doctor give you? Medicine. Sounds healing, right? Except medicine comes from the same root as meddle, to interfere, to get involved in something that's not your business. Medicine isn't about healing, it's about interference. Interfering with your body's natural processes, meddling with your symptoms instead of addressing causes. That's why they call it practicing medicine. Practice. They're practicing on you, experimenting, trying different interventions to see what works. You're not being healed, you're being practiced on. And we already covered pharmacy, pharmakeia, sorcery, witchcraft. But let's go deeper. What do you get from the pharmacy? Drugs. And what's another word for drugs? Dope. You're being doped. Drugged. Put into an altered state where you're more controllable, more compliant, more docile. Look at the word prescription. Prescription. Written before. The doctor writes it before seeing how you respond. It's predetermined, scripted. You're following their script, not your body's wisdom. And prescription also contains script from scripture, holy writing. You're supposed to follow it like divine law. Now look at the names of drugs. Prozac, Xanax, Lipitor, Viagra. These aren't random. They're designed to sound powerful, scientific, authoritative. But notice what they don't sound like: natural, healing, organic. They sound synthetic, chemical, corporate, because that's what they are. And here's something most people never notice: disease, dis-ease, not at ease, discomfort. You're not sick, you're experiencing dis-ease in your body, but they turned it into a noun, a thing you have. You don't have dis-ease, you're experiencing dis-ease. That linguistic shift is everything. Because if disease is something you have, then you need someone else to take it away. You're powerless. You're dependent on external intervention. But if disease is something you're experiencing, then you can change the conditions creating that experience. You have agency. You have power. That's why they medicalized the language. Turned experiences into diagnoses, turned symptoms into syndromes, turned natural body responses into pathologies requiring intervention. And let's talk about diagnosis. Dia means through. Gnosis means knowledge. Diagnosis should mean knowledge gained through observation. But what does it actually mean in practice? It means labeling, categorizing, putting you in a box with a name so they can prescribe the appropriate drug protocol. Once you have a diagnosis, you have an identity. I'm diabetic. I'm bipolar. I'm asthmatic. You're not a person experiencing blood sugar dysregulation. You are diabetic. You're not a person with emotional intensity. You are bipolar. The diagnosis becomes who you are. And once it's who you are, it's permanent. It's your identity. It's your life sentence. Now let's talk about insurance. Insurance. Making sure. Assurance. Sounds protective, right? Wrong. Insurance comes from the same root as ensure, to make certain. But certain of what? That you'll pay them monthly forever while they deny your claims and fight your coverage. Think about it. You pay health insurance every month. You're literally paying them to maybe help you if you get sick, if they approve it, if you meet the deductible, if it's covered, if you filled out the right forms. That's not insurance. That's extortion with extra steps. And here's the sickest part. It's called health insurance, but it only pays for sickness care. It doesn't pay for you to stay healthy. It doesn't cover nutrition counseling, stress reduction, preventive care that actually works. It only pays when you're sick. That's not health insurance. That's disease insurance. They want you sick because sick people are profitable. Sick people are dependent. Sick people are controllable. Healthy people don't need their system. Healthy people have energy to question, to resist, to create alternative systems. That's why they removed nutrition from medical school. That's why doctors get 8 hours of nutrition training in 8 years of medical school, but hundreds of hours on pharmaceuticals. Because food heals, drugs manage, and management is more profitable than healing. Now let me show you another pattern that's going to disturb you. the pattern of educational indoctrination, because they're not teaching your kids, they're programming them. Start with the word school. Comes from Greek skol, leisure, spare time. Because in ancient Greece, school was what wealthy people did in their spare time. Learning for pleasure, philosophy, art, exploration. But what is school now? Mandatory, compulsory, structured, tested, graded, judged. There's nothing leisurely about it. There's nothing free about it. It's a factory, an indoctrination center, a processing plant where they take free-thinking children and turn them into compliant workers who follow instructions and don't question authority. And what are kids in school called? Pupils. You think that means student, learner? No. Pupil has two meanings: the dark center of your eye and a young person under instruction. Why the same word? Because the pupil of your eye is the opening through which light enters. A pupil in school is the opening through which their light, their information, their ideology, their programming enters. You're not a student seeking knowledge. You're a pupil, an empty vessel waiting to be filled with their version of reality. And just like the pupil of your eye dilates to let in more light, young pupils' minds are wide open, absorbing everything without filters. Now let's talk about what they make pupils do. They take tests. Test comes from Latin testis, witness, but also earthen pot used to refine gold. Testing is about refining, separating the gold from the dross, separating the compliant from the rebellious, the ones who can follow instructions from the ones who think independently. That's why tests aren't about knowledge, that they're about obedience. Can you memorize what we told you? Can you regurgitate it on command? Can you follow the format we specified? Can you stay inside the lines we drew? Get a good grade. Grade comes from gradus, step, degree. You're being graded like meat. USDA prime. Grade A, Grade B, Grade C. Your livestock being sorted by quality. The best ones get the best opportunities. The rest get fed into the lower rundles of the system. And all of this happens in a classroom. Classroom. A room for your class. But what does class mean? It means division, separation, hierarchy, working class, middle class, upper class. You're being taught your class from day one. Which room you're in, which division you belong to, which level of society you'll occupy. Rich kids go to schools with small class sizes and individualized attention. Your kids go to schools with 40 students per room and teachers who are overworked and underpaid. Same word, class, but very different realities. Because the room you're in determines the class you'll be in for life. And what's the ultimate goal of all this schooling? Graduation, gradusation. From the same root as grade, steps, degrees. Graduation means you've completed the steps, you've climbed the degrees, you've been processed through all the levels. And now, you're ready for what? Employment, occupation, currency flow, death pledges, legal fictions. You've been prepared to enter the systems we've already decoded. School isn't education, it's preparation for willing slavery. But here's what they really don't want you knowing. The word educate comes from Latin educere, to lead out, to draw forth. Education should be about drawing out what's already inside you, your natural genius, your unique gifts, your inherent wisdom. Instead, they indoctrinate. In doctrine. They put doctrine into you, fill you with their beliefs, their facts, their version of history, their interpretation of reality. They're not drawing anything out, they're stuffing things in. That's not education, that's programming. Elite kids get educated. Tutors who identify their natural strengths and develop them. Your kids get indoctrinated, standardized curriculum designed to make everyone think the same way, value the same things, want the same goals. Now let me show you one more pattern that connects to everything. The pattern of time, control, and calendar manipulation. because they even control how you experience time itself. Look at the word calendar. It comes from Latin calendi, the first day of the month, when debts were due. The calendar isn't measuring time, it's measuring debt cycles. When your payments are due, when your mortgage is due, when your taxes are due, when your insurance is due. Time isn't natural flow. It's been divided into payment schedules. That's why your life is structured around weeks, months, quarters, years. Because those are the intervals at which you pay them. The calendar is a debt tracking system disguised as time measurement. And look at how we measure time. Seconds, minutes, hours. Each one is a division, a fraction, a piece. Time has been fractured, broken into smaller and smaller pieces so it can be sold. You sell your time by the hour. You're paid by the hour. Your time, your life, has been chopped up and monetized. Ancient cultures didn't measure time this way. They measured by seasons, by moons, by harvests, by natural cycles. But natural cycles can't be monetized. Natural cycles are free. So they created clock time, mechanical time, artificial divisions that turned your life into a commodity. Now look at the days of the week. Monday, Moon Day, Day of the Moon. Sounds mystical, right? Wrong. Monday is the first day you go back to work after the weekend. It's the day you return to the grind. Monday is mourning, the day you mourn your lost freedom. Friday, free day. The day before you're free for the weekend. Except you're not really free. You're just temporarily released from occupation. Like a prisoner getting yard time, you'll be back in the cell Monday morning. And weekend, the end of the work week. But notice, it's defined by work. Your free time isn't even its own thing, it's just not work time. Your life is defined by your occupation, even when you're not occupied. Now look at the months. January, named after Janus, the two-faced Roman god who looks forward and backward. The god of transitions, doorways, beginnings and endings. They start your year with the two-faced god, a reminder that everything has two sides, everything is duplicitous. Trust nothing at face value. March, named after Mars, the god of war. The third month is when winter ends and military campaigns begin. March is when you march, when you go to war, when you fall in line and follow orders. The month is telling you what to do. April, from Latin aperire to open. April is when things open, flowers bloom, the earth opens, but also tax season. April is when you open your wallet and give them their cut. The month of opening, your pocket, your books, your finances for their inspection. And every month, every week, every day, you're following their calendar, operating on their schedule, living by their measurement of time. You wake up when they say, you work when they say, you rest when they permit, you retire when they determine. Your entire life is scheduled according to their calendar, and you never question it because you were born into it. But time isn't real, not the way they measure it. Time is a construct, a control system, a way to make sure you're always running on their track, following their timeline, serving their schedule. Elite families know this. That's why they think in generations, in centuries, in legacy. While you're thinking about your next paycheck, they're thinking about their great-great-grandchildren's trust funds. While you're worried about this month's bills, they're planning dynasty succession for the year 2150. They operate on a completely different time scale than you, because they're not trapped in the calendar. They're not slaves to the clock. They own the time systems that control you. Now let me show you the pattern of semantic satiation and meaning collapse. Say any word 50 times in a row. The word stops meaning anything. It becomes just sound. Strange, alien, meaningless. That's semantic satiation, when repetition destroys meaning. And this is how they control you. They repeat words until they lose meaning. Freedom. Democracy. justice, security. These words meant something powerful once. Now they're empty. Repeated so much in so many contexts that they've lost definition. Politicians say freedom and it means nothing. Corporations say innovation and it's meaningless. Advertisers say natural and there's no substance. The words have been saturated. The meanings have collapsed. And when words lose meaning, you lose the ability to think clearly about the concepts they represent. If freedom means nothing, how do you fight for it? How do you recognize when you've lost it? They saturate the words that represent your power, liberty, rights, justice, truth. Repeat them until they're empty. Then fill them with whatever meaning serves the power structure. Meanwhile, they protect their own power words. Profit, growth, shareholder, compliance. These words maintain precise meaning because precision serves power. Now here's the pattern that reveals the ultimate control system. The pattern of absent subject. English lets you speak without stating who's acting. Mistakes were made. By whom? Decisions will be made. By whom? It is said that. Said by whom? This passive voice removes accountability, obscures agency, hides power. Politicians use this constantly. Mistakes were made during the war. Never I made mistakes. The passive removes responsibility. The subject disappears, no one is accountable, or it is believed that it is understood that. Who believes? Who understands? The passive construction makes opinion sound like fact by removing the opinionated subject. Ancient languages, Latin, Sanskrit, Hebrew, make the subject mandatory. You can't hide behind passive voice. If you're declaring something, you're owning it. That's powerful, that's dangerous. That's why modern English loves passive voice. Now let me show you the pattern of future past language manipulation. English has a future tense, but it's weak. I will do this. I'm going to do that. It's always distant. Always later. Always separated from now. This trains your mind to procrastinate, to delay, to live in someday. Meanwhile, some languages don't have future tense. In Mandarin, you say, tomorrow I go store, using present tense. The future is treated as present. And studies show that speakers of these languages save more money, are healthier, and plan better for the future. Because linguistically, the future is now. English also overemphasizes the past. Past perfect. Past continuous. Past perfect continuous. Multiple ways to talk about what was. This keeps you trapped in history, in what happened, in old stories. Meanwhile, the present tense is simple, often overlooked. I am. I do. I create. The present is treated as the least important time frame. That's linguistic programming, designed to keep you out of the only moment where you have power, right now. Now, let me tie all of this together. Because what I've shown you isn't just interesting patterns. It's the actual technology the elite use to maintain power generation after generation. They know language creates reality. They know patterns encode power. They know that whoever controls the words controls the world. So they teach their children ancient languages, etymology, linguistic precision. They teach them to speak with authority, to declare with confidence, to command rather than ask. Meanwhile, they give your children corrupted English, slang, text speak, emoji, imprecise, emotional, reactive language that prevents clear thinking and powerful speaking. They remove etymology from schools, so you never decode the words. They remove critical thinking, so you never question the narrative. They remove Latin, so you never understand law. They remove Greek, so you never understand philosophy. They remove Hebrew, so you never understand religion. They remove Sanskrit, so you never understand consciousness. They keep you linguistically weak on purpose. Because weak language creates weak thinking. Weak thinking creates weak action. Weak action creates weak results. and weak people are easy to control. But now you know. You've seen the patterns. You understand the game, and you can choose differently. Here's what you do. This is your exit strategy from the linguistic prison. Stop calling yourself a citizen. You're a sovereign being. Sovereign means supreme authority over yourself. Not a citizen, sovereign. Not subject to their system, sovereign. Self-governing, self-determining. That's the word that scares the most. Stop calling it your occupation. It's an exchange of value. Stop calling it your career. It's your creative path. Creation. Creare means to bring forth. You're not producing for them. You're creating from within yourself. Stop calling it worship. It's embodiment. Stop calling it your property. It's your space. Stop calling it legal. Ask, is it lawful? Use the word autonomous. Auto means self. Nomos means law. Autonomous means self-law. You govern yourself by your own law, not theirs. Use the word liberation. Liber means free. Liberation means making free, not success, not achievement. Freedom from their system. They stopped using this word. They replaced it with empowerment, which just means power within their system. They want you empowered, not liberated. Because empowerment keeps you in the game. Liberation takes you out of the game. Use the word abundance. Ab means from. Unda means wave. Abundance means flowing from, like waves. It's not about accumulation in their system. It's about overflow from source. They teach you scarcity thinking, because scarcity keeps you competing for their resources. Abundance consciousness makes you realize there's infinite supply outside their control. Eliminate passive voice. Instead of mistakes were made, say, I made a mistake. Own it. Subject, verb, object. You're the actor, you have agency, you have power. Eliminate future tense for goals. Instead of I will be successful, say I am becoming successful, or I am successful. Bring it into present. The universe only responds to now. Eliminate try. Try is pre-failure language. Replace with I am doing or I am learning to do. Active, present, successful, regardless of outcome. Eliminate but. But erases everything before it. Replace with and. I love you and I'm frustrated. Let's both be true simultaneously. Pay attention to your I am statements. These are reality declarations. I am tired creates tiredness. I am broke creates poverty. Shift to I am recharging or I am building wealth. Study etymology. Look up 5 words you use daily. Understand their roots. See the hidden patterns. Once you know what you're really saying, you can choose whether to keep saying it. Learn a sacred language, even just the alphabet, Hebrew, Sanskrit, Latin. These languages preserve patterns that English obscures. They train your mind in precision, power, and cosmic structure. This is linguistic sovereignty. That's the way out. Not changing the system, exiting the language, speaking as a free being, not as their subject. Every word is a choice. Every sentence is a spell. And you're the one casting it. They built the prison with words. You exit the prison with different words. You just learned what elite kids learn by age 10. What their private school tutors teach them while your kids are on TikTok. You now know that every word describing your relationship to their system is a trap. Currency flows through you to them. Your occupation occupies you. Employment folds you into their machine. Citizens sit in the city. Democracy is mob rule. Elections are selections from their list. Banks control the flow. Salary preserves you. Capital is your head. Mortgage is a death pledge. Credit measures your servitude. Interest keeps you in the gap. Business keeps you busy. Career is a circular track. Corporations are dead bodies drinking your life force. Television programs you. Channels open pathways into you. Information forms you from within. Entertainment holds your mind. Religion binds you. Church moves you in circles. Worship ships your worth away. Amen invokes the Egyptian god. Licenses sell back your rights. Certificates create legal fictions. Your name in all caps isn't you. Property tax proves you don't own anything. The prison is made of words. Grammar is grimoire. Spelling is spellcasting. But grimoires don't just cast personal spells, they cast systemic spells. Institutional spells. They built an entire reality control system using corrupted language patterns and ancient knowledge they hid from you. And you've been living in it, speaking it, consenting to it your entire life without knowing what the words mean. But now you know. Now you see the cage, and you can't unsee it. Every contract from now on, every form, every time someone asks, "Do you understand?" you'll know what you're really consenting to. The spell is broken. The code is cracked. You have linguistic sovereignty now. The only question is, what will you do with it? Will you keep using their words, or will you exit the language? Will you keep calling yourself a citizen, or will you claim sovereignty? Will you keep participating in their system, or will you create outside it? The choice was always yours. They just made sure you didn't know you had it. Now you know. Abracadabra. I create as I speak. That's not a magic trick. That's the truth they turned into a punchline. You are the spellcaster. You always were. You just forgot the language of power. But now you remember. If this opened your eyes, if something clicked deep in your chest when you saw the pattern, drop a comment right now. Tell me which word hit you hardest. Which word made you say, "Holy shit, I've been saying that my whole life without knowing what it means." I read every comment. Let's build a community of people who see the cage and refuse to live in it anymore. And subscribe. Because this is just the beginning. There's so much more they've hidden. The frequency codes in your DNA, the sound patterns that heal or harm, the sacred geometry in ancient texts, the technologies they've buried for thousands of years. We're bringing it all to light. Every system, every institution, every control mechanism, until there's nothing left hidden, until you see the entire architecture of the matrix they built around you. Welcome to your linguistic freedom. The cage was always made of words. Now you know how to unlock it. You're not a citizen, you're sovereign. You're not employed, you're creating. You're not occupied, you're free. You're not bound, you're liberated. Speak your truth. Declare your reality. Command your world. The universe is listening. And it speaks the language of pattern. Create as you speak. That's not magic. That's the operating system, and you just learned the code.